What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 160 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Over the last couple of days, I've been talking about a couple volumes from Planetary, and today I'm going to talk to you about Volume 3. This collects issues 13 through 18 of Planetary by Warren Ellis and John Cassaday. And the first two volumes, they are introducing the premise of this series, and they are introducing all of these mysteries about this world, and then you start to get hints about the answers to those mysteries, and then you start to get answers, but then you get more questions. Volume 3 comes along, and it kind of breaks that trend. It doesn't seem like they were as interested in introducing more questions and then answering the previous questions. They do explore the mythology of this world a little bit, but it doesn't seem like they are as interested in exploring the Four and what they've been up to over the last 50 years or so, and what Planetary has been up to over the last 100 years or so. It doesn't really seem like this volume is as interested in exploring all of that. It does give us character backstory that we had hints to earlier, but it doesn't have nearly as much explanation about what's going on, and then introduction to more questions, kind of like the previous two volumes did. And since Volume 2 ends on a pretty huge cliffhanger where we find out who the fourth man is, you would think that with that information, this series would be kicked into high gear, and it kind of slows down and it takes its pace a little bit more slowly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. When I say that this is not quite as good as Volumes 1 and 2, you have to understand that Volumes 1 and 2 are darn near perfect, and this is just really, really good. It's not darn near perfect, but it's really, really good. For example, I mentioned earlier that this fills us in on a little bit of character backstory. We get to see Jaquita Wagner's origin story here, which is something that we didn't really get a lot of hints to. We knew that she was unusual. She had superpowers, and we knew that there was something going on with her based on some of her similarities to Elijah Snow, but we weren't really sure what her origin story was. We get her origin story here. That's a very good issue. We get to see a little bit more of Elijah Snow's backstory. We get to see how he's involved with this world, but we don't necessarily get more information on the Four and the Planetary organization, which we got quite a bit of that in the first two volumes. This issue also, or this volume, has one issue in it that it kind of reminds me of the John Constantine issue from Volume 2, but it didn't make me as angry as that issue did. Once again, it is an issue that doesn't really have a story in it. It's mostly showcasing that Warren Ellis and I guess John Cassaday, they are huge fans of real-world science and theoretical physics and stuff like that. And so there's an issue here that is kind of sort of about Captain Marvel from DC Comics, and it is centered around Ares Rock in Australia. And basically, the entire issue is just Warren Ellis kind of postulating about scientific theories and the multiverse and stuff like that, which he does a lot of talk about high science and stuff like that in a lot of his works. In this series, he talks a lot about it, but in all the other issues, it feels like there's more of an actual story being told in that issue, whereas in this particular issue about Ares Rock, it feels more like he's just saying the dream time is connected to this certain field of theoretical physics and stuff like that. It doesn't feel like there's as much of a story in that issue. But again, it didn't make me as angry as the John Constantine issue at the beginning of Volume 2. But it is kind of similar in that it doesn't feel like there's much of a story there. It's mostly just, hey, here's some really cool physics stuff that Warren Ellis is a big fan of, and then we get to see it in the world of Planetary. But again, this volume is not bad. I don't think that there's really anything bad about this issue. Even the Ares Rock issue, it's not bad, it's just not very good either. It's just kind of there. But I don't think that this volume is bad. It's just not quite as good as Volumes 1 and 2. So those are my thoughts on Planetary Volume 3. I hope that you guys liked this volume, or liked this review of this volume, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with another video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of your day. Catch you later.